Yeah, so I was just saying that it started from this premise that the virtuality or the virtual world is both in the mind of, in a very analog sense, in my experience as a dancer, and also obviously in the digital world. And there are sort of parallels where they cross over. And in this work, the original work, where I got a little bit of funding to work with some programmers, I used the drone simply because it could image from various perspectives in much the same way as I would imagine a sequence of steps and the sort of technical and mechanical demands of those steps, as well as the kind of emotionally charged, kind of more abstract dimension of a sequence. So I was interested to see if the drone, if we programmed the drone and a sequence of steps with the dancers, whether it could actually image something of the interior experience or the virtuality of imagining and memory, the virtual body, if you like. When we started, I had a week's studio offering with the programmers and the two dancers. And within the first day, I dropped all my ideas and noticed the presence of the drone was absolutely overpowering, not just because of the noise, which is very interesting, that I've heard some of the speakers go more into depth about the noise and errors and so forth, but also because of the sort of anthropomorphic relationship that we developed with the drone. So in this situation here, you'll see that the drone is moving in response to the sensors on the dancers, and the dancers are moving in response to the drone's imaging of them. It can only image one person at one time. And what this meant was that collisions would occur, it would fall to the ground. They had to move in a very particular way. So it was very controlling in terms of how movement and improvised movement was made. And beyond that, over a series of 5 days, when you're exposed to the drone and its behaviours, relationships emerge, and emotions kind of begin to take over. And the human drama sort of became more predominant. In this case, one person could hold hold themselves in frame to let the other person get out of frame, so that it became almost like a political power game. I found all of that really quite amazing, because the drone itself, it's not so much that its technology is threatening. It's more interesting in the fact, at least for my practice, that the language that it uses denies the incredible complexity of human movement and human beings in their bodies. There's a kind of glitch that occurs between the human language and the algorithmic language of the drone. And I might not have mentioned, but this drone is automated, and there's nobody controlling it while it's imaging the dancers. So then that was the first iteration, and the second iteration, my colleague Cameron, who's with me now, we got together and we got a commission, and we thought, what would happen if we extended this sort of idea to see what problems emerge between a group of children and a drone. So we sort of employed a language that most of them knew, which is like around video games, and just described to them that the drone was like them as the controller, and they were like the characters in the video game, and gave them a sense of a few sets of behaviours themselves, and just let what happened emerge. So I'll close this one off and open that one up, and Cam can speak to that one. Yep. Oh, sorry. Diggity-doo. Hi, Cam. Can you hear me?
I can, Annie. Thanks.
Yeah.
And sorry, slightly rough. Thanks to the organisers for hosting us. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yes.
But I was thinking as you were talking, Annie, and how you initiated this project with your initial interest in drones and AI and machine learning, and it made me think about my interest in digital technologies and how that's come to be embodied or supplemented by the drone. So that kind of the figure of the drone is really key for the way that we understand digital. I have become to understand digital technology as something that we can still see, that is still clearly visible. Like Susan Greenfield uses the umbrella term everywhere to describe the paradigmatic shift toward technologies that are pervasive, ubiquitous, sentient, tangible, and also sometimes wearable. So I think these technologies are invested with some decision-making capacity, like our drone, in order to facilitate the completion of everyday tasks. In this scenario, it was a task that was set up for the drone to interact with a choir group from Geelong. It's through the rhetoric of efficiency and empowerment that digital technologies are constructed in the popular imagination. At the same time, the software and the hardware that now underwrites social and cultural processes, and the semi-automated technology codes but self-woven into everyday life, that they seem to be disappearing from view. As such, we only become conscious of digital technologies when they are not working. While a seamless interface might improve functionality, it also makes the critical questions associated with the digital harder to address. So how can the impact of digital technologies be assessed if they cannot be seen or sensed? And this is what we sought to do in this work: make visible that relationship between the casual, natural user, the young people, the digital native, a mostly biological entity, and the digital as represented by the drone. But the drone as kind of central figure in this is also, it's also important to recognize that the drone is responding and recognizing very particular patterns. Those patterns consist of its spatial constraints, the programmer that is sitting behind the desk in this video, uh, the cameras set up around the scene, the lights themselves and their position in the space, the dramaturg, Annie Wilson, organising the choir group, and then beyond that, the city of Geelong itself, because this would not have come together without an original funding boost from the city, but also without this disused industrial space, because Geelong itself is a deindustrialising city that is currently reinventing itself as a smart city, as a pivot city for new technologies. Just engage with them. So we're kind of questioning things on a grander scale that relate to Geelong and this notion of the smart city and how we use digital technologies to supposedly make life more efficient. But what happens to politics in that space as politics are crowded out by that increased acceleration of the digital feedback loop that make our lives supposedly easier, but much more surveilled and much more commercialized. So in this scenario, we're making that relationship with the drone much more visible. And yes, at times it's creepy. The choir often didn't know how to respond, but eventually came to feel comfortable with the drone, which for kind of an outcome. What do you think, Annie?
So thank you so much, Cameron and Anne. If you wouldn't mind, I'm not sure if Anne, you had any final words. If you wouldn't mind picking up in a minute or two.
No, that's fine. We can just wrap it up. I mean, there's a lot of aspects of the performance and drama, like it was very dramatic in terms of human relationships. What emerges becomes something that's very difficult to measure or quantify, and but it's definitely problematic. And some of the concerns that Cam's just cited would be sort of the foundation for further research, and also especially with this this conference, because a lot of what's been unpacked relates to a lot of the questions that emerge out of this work. So thank you very much.